Yo, it's Bear and I'm back with another video. Blazing Vortex is officially TCG legal, and unfortunately the set itself is pretty disappointing. A lot of people were holding out hope that the TCG exclusive archetype in War Rocks would be good, but yeah, it's pretty lackluster. If you're interested in seeing what War Rocks may be able to do, I am working on a video for them, so make sure you subscribe to watch that and other Yu-Gi-Oh content. In this video, I'm going to tell you guys cards that you should probably avoid buying, at least for now, and cards that you should maybe pick up before they potentially go up in the near future. Remember, we haven't gotten any special editions since the beginning of last year, so supers do have the potential to go up in value. Let's start off with the cards not to buy. First, the new Link 5 that is getting a bit of talk as one of the better cards in the set. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's Underworld, Goddess of the Closed World. She's a Link 5 which requires 4+ effect monsters. She can use one monster your opponent controls as material to Link summon her, and when she's summoned, she can negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. She's unaffected by card effects unless she is specifically targeted, and she also has a negate, but it's kind of a weird one because it's only when your opponent activates a card or effect that would special summon a monster from the graveyard. So yeah, that's not really an amazing negate to have. The other reason this card is getting some hype is due to the fact that allegedly there's an official ruling that IP Masquerena can be used to make it. Whether that changes in the near future or is something that's going to vary from tournament to tournament, I can't really say. However, even then, you have to think about the commitment you're making on this card. You're using 3 of your own materials, and at that point, why not make an access code, or why not just make a Boral Sword? She's currently hovering around the $30 mark, and I personally don't think she'll see much play. However, she could potentially make it into the extra deck as a flex spot. Unlike access code, you won't see people going out of the way to run stuff like Fibrax, Charmer Links, Selene, etc. to bring it out. Personally, I think you can avoid buying this card altogether. Moving on, we have the new Dragon Hand Trap, Heavenly Zephyr Miradora. It's sitting around the $15 mark, and I think some people are really overrating this card at the moment. Its activation and effect cannot be negated. If your opponent special summons a monster or monsters with 2,000 or more attack from the extra deck, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then, when it's specialed, you can target one face-up monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. Neither player can activate that monster's effects while this monster is face-up on the field. Okay, so first off, this card is very specific in what it can negate and when it can negate it. It has to be from the extra deck, it has to have 2,000 or more attack, and it doesn't do anything in terms of stopping unsummon effects. Now, let's think about this card, or let's think about what you potentially may want to stop with this card. Access code, cool, you can't because you can't respond to access code's effect. Boral Sword, cool, but the negation only works while this card is still face up on the field, and odds are they're probably just gonna run this over and then still kill you afterwards. Another example would be, let's think back to the last format, right? Remember Infernobles? Remember Isolde? Cool. They would just have another extender, make another copy of Isolde, and suddenly they just don't care. This is just way too specific considering the fact that we already have cards that negate effects and they're not as situational as this one. This is another card that I personally just don't expect to see much play. Finally, we have the new Floodgate Underdog. This card is currently significantly cheaper than the other 2 I mentioned, but you can still just pass on wasting your money on it. It's a simple card. During your turn, negate the effect of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. During your opponent's turn, negate the effects of all face-up monsters you control. So you would have to first set this card, then your opponent still gets a chance to play on their own turn, and now back to your turn, you can finally use this card. Yeah, this card is just way too slow, and I don't feel like very many strategies are capable of effectively making use of it. This is a hard pass for me. Moving on to some cards you should pick up while they're still cheap. First off, we have Psychic Eraser Laser. This is a super rare TCG exclusive from this set that sends, not destroys, one monster your opponent controls that was special summoned from the extra deck, and it sends it to the graveyard. Then your opponent gains life points equal to the original attack or defense, whichever one's higher. And honestly, you don't really care about the LP gain because I think that's a very fair trade-off. This card can come in handy because sending can be a very powerful method of removal. It can out stuff like Dragoon. If we're referring to past formats, this could have dealt with Dingirsu. And imagine if we get more decks in the future that are similar to Unchained, so decks that float on destruction, this is going to come very handy as well. It's a great budget option for removal. We don't know when it'll get a reprint. Remember, supers like Tikaboo that became meta, they jumped to like $6 to $8. I think this is probably just a really nice card to have laying around somewhere in your staple binder. Next, we got Tri-Brigade Kitt. So if you've been completely in the dark recently, there's a new roguish, maybe tier 2-ish deck roaming around in Birdo, which is the name people like to call it. Essentially, it's just Lurlusk Tri-Brigade. The deck is super consistent and can play through a crap ton of interruption. If you check out MST.tv's channel, he has a profile with 2 players who both got 2nd place in their respective groups for the Remote Duel Extravaganza. Now, allegedly, this deck has a very good matchup against Drytron, which says a lot about its power and potential. Kitt is supposedly a very welcome addition to the deck, and remember, for Remote Duels, Jack in the Hand is banned, and that's a card that's pretty phenomenal in the deck. So, if we're thinking about future online events like the Luxury Championship Series, where both Kitt and Jack in the Hand are going to be legal, if this deck suddenly begins to perform a lot better, you can definitely expect Kitt to surge a bit up in value. So yeah, this deck as a whole right now is fairly affordable, so a lot of people will want to pick it up if that does happen to be the case. If you have any interest in playing the deck, please just pick up your copies of Kitt right now. My next card is a bit interesting. It's actually a Rock card. Rock Gactos is a level 4 Earth Warrior monster that has the effect that if an Earth Warrior monster is normal summoned to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand. It's also worth noting that this card is searchable with the field spell, and now the obvious idea is that this is an extender to go into a Soul Deck. If you're wondering what Earth Warrior deck am I gonna play this in, that probably means you forgot about Goki. If you remember around the time of summer 2020, we had Goki popping up as a bit of a rogue contender until it strangely just completely disappeared. If the deck just ever resurges into the meta, this is a potential extender for the deck to utilize. Also, Warrocks are getting more support in the next set. Gactos, along with the field spell, are 2 of the better cards in the deck. This could be a safe investment in case somehow the new support can save the strategy. And the final card I want to talk about is another TCG exclusive super rare. That card is Materiactor Gigadra. It's a level 3 monster and its effect is immediately eye-catching for a lot of graveyard reliant decks. You can discard 1 card for cost, special summon 1 level 3 normal monster from your hand or deck. Its effect also teases that we may potentially have more Materiactor cards on the way. Immediately what comes to mind here is that this card can maybe see play in Phantom Knights or in some other rank 3 or graveyard control strategies. I'm fairly certain some players will be experimenting with this card. Whether anything comes of it, who really knows? But what I do know is that it definitely wouldn't hurt to pick them up, especially as cheap as they are right now. Alright guys, that is it for the video. If you enjoyed, please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. This is Bear, signing off. Peace, guys.